What is SARS?
Well, what are the SARS? The SARS are a collection of data from the census. So, as you know, the census is collected every 10 years on the one, and it's a unique resource because the data is collected from the entire population. Now typically the census is outputted as tables, and you get maybe 2 or 3 characteristics by an area. The SARS are an alternative to that, where what you get is a sample of individual records. So that's called microdata. Up behind us is a slide of what I mean by that. So rather than having a table that contains counts of combinations of characteristics, what you get is all of the characteristics for individuals. So you might have a person's age, sex, ethnic group, health, whether or not they provide any care, whether there's anybody in the household who requires care, and so on. And you might have the full range of census topics for each record. So it's a bit more like the sorts of data that you would get if you collected your own survey and were to store it in something like SPSS or Stata.
So why would you want to use microdata instead of tables?
Well, if the tables give you what you want, use the tables. The tables give you data for the entire population. But quite often, particularly if you're in research, you want to do things that haven't been anticipated. So the tables won't give you what you want. Having the microdata gives you an awful lot more flexibility. So you're able to produce your own tables or to combine characteristics together to create new characteristics or variables, as we call them, and maybe set up your own definitions and use them more flexibly, or produce things like multivariate models. So you could look at a characteristic and how it varies with another, controlling for a whole lot of different things. So if you're interested in, say, as one user has been, the health of Scottish people versus people from other areas, then you can look at the effect of being Scottish once you've controlled for things like your occupation and your housing type. So it allows you to get in much deeper to the data than tables typically do.
Are the SARS individual files and not geographical files?
All of the records are individual records, but some of the files have got geographical content, so you can look at them geographically even though they're individual records. It might be worth at this point just running through what the different files are, because there's a family of SAR files, if you like. So we have 2 files that are called end-user license files, because you can get them off the website. The 3% individual SAR only has region. That's the only geography. The small area microdata, however, has got local authority geography on it. So although you've got individual records, you can look at it by local authority. The same goes for the more secure files. They're called CAMs at the bottom, that you have to get permission from ONS to use. They also have that local authority geography. So you don't have the detailed geography you might get in census tables, but you're still able to do some geographical analysis. I mean, I'll show you a quick example of that. So here, we've been able to use the flexibility of the SARS to identify residents who are male, aged 21 to 65, with a professional qualification. Now, that's something that you couldn't get into doing with the tables, but we've still got the local authority geography. So we've been able to map that in the same way that we would with the geographical data.
So can you use these data to examine change over time?
At the moment, we've got data from 91 and 2001 censuses. So we're hoping to have data for a wider period of time than that in the future. But at the moment, it's 91 and 2001. What you can do is you can look at societal changes or changes for particular social groups between those 2 time periods. So one user has looked at the makeup of social care institutions between those 2 time periods. I've looked at the family composition, household composition of ethnic minorities between those 2 time periods. But you can't follow individuals between 91 and 2001. If you wanted to do that, there is actually another product that will let you do that. That's called the longitudinal study, or the Scottish longitudinal study, or there's now a Northern Ireland longitudinal study. And they'll allow you to track people over time, and they go back to, in the case of England and Wales, as far back as 71.
So how do you get access to the files then?
For the most straightforward files, you can download them from our website. In order to do that, you must first be registered with the Census Registration System. It's the same system that also do the access to the Economic and Social Data Service. So if you're registered for one, you're registered for the other. Once you're registered, you can download the individual licensed file for 2001, the small area microdata file from 2001, or any of the 91 files from the website in SPSS Stat, or explore it online with a thing called Nestar. However, the more detailed files are only available to approved researchers. And approved researcher is a legal status under the Statistics and Registrations Act. And that applies to, if you look here, all of the files that are in pale blue. So that's the household file for 2001, where all the household members have a household ID, so you can connect them up and do things like household analyses. Or the more secure versions, more detailed versions, called the controlled access microdata samples, that are in the virtual microdata laboratory. Now, those are much more detailed, but in order to get hold of those, you actually have to use the virtual microdata laboratory, which at the moment is just in ONS settings. So it's a range of different accesses. If you're in doubt, start at our website, find out which file you want, and you'll be routed to the right information about how to get hold of it.
So how can I get more information about SARS?
Pretty much everything is on our website, and you'll find that at sars.census.ac.uk. If you want to contact us, then we're at sars-helpdesk@manchester.ac.uk, or you can call us on 0161 275 4735.